What is going on, everybody? It is Friday, October the 29th, and that means it's time for my News Radar. So to start this show off today, I'm going to try and make Apple users angry. Now, that's not actually what I'm going to do, but what I am going to finally do is I'm going to talk about something that's been a big topic of discussion on the internet in the tech YouTube space, and that is, of course, the giant notch that was just added to the newest version of the MacBook. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, on the newest MacBook Pro that was just announced just a little while ago, Apple did something rather strange, but also rather not strange for Apple. Pretty expected, really, if I'm being honest. They added a notch to the front, to the display of the new MacBook Pro. They're proud to carry that iPhone. They want to be seen carrying that iPhone. So with the new MacBook, I think that's what they're doing. I think that when you see the front of the MacBook, you may see the front of a Surface Laptop Pro and think that's a MacBook, but it's not because it looks so similar. Well, now with that notch, that's a MacBook. There's no way around it. You know what it is. But there's more to it than just this, because strangely enough, this new MacBook kind of has some weird software jank that you wouldn't expect from Apple. Let's look at these tweets here from Quinn Nelson, who is a big Apple guy. And I'm just going to play these videos here for you because they're honestly hilarious. And it's very confusing to me as someone who, is used to seeing Apple be very polished and very good. This seems crazy to me.
Oh, I can't even believe this is real. So, oh my gosh. A lot of people have been asking and wondering, with the notch in the way now, what happens if your app menus go too far to the right or your status menus go too far to the left? Do they get smaller, or do they jump to the other side, or are they scrollable? The answer is freaking nothing. If I turn on iStat menus, look at that. There is stuff behind the menu bar that I can't see. Oh my gosh. Okay, the plot thickens. If I open DaVinci Resolve, there are a ton of menu bar app items, okay? And clearly, there's maybe stuff behind the notch, but if I go up there, no. If I click in the middle of the notch, it just opens the playback menu. Now look, if I go to the playback menu, it just jumps from the left side to the right side instantly. This behavior does not work on the OS where you can just move your mouse behind here willy-nilly. But if I go back to DaVinci Resolve, I can't go into the notch. Let's drag something like the battery icon. Does that hide under the notch? Yes, it does. So it's not iStats, but who designed this?
Okay, so that's all pretty horrible. These things are really, really expensive, and that's some next level bad kind of performance going on here in terms of software bugs. Maybe performance is the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. How about if you're trying to game? What if you're playing some Rocket League? Well, you're not going to be able to see time remaining because you've got a notch in the middle of it. So, look, a notch is one thing. Just from an aesthetic perspective, not a fan of notches. But now, on top of the aesthetics, this software has no idea that it's there. And that's worse. This is worse. I would rather have a bezel than have that. Now, I'm sure a lot of this stuff is going to get fixed, right? There will be updates. It's going to get better. These things are still very performant. I'm not saying these are bad devices because they have these problems. It is a problem, but if you're like a video producing person, it's still going to be a good option for you. And if you just don't like the aesthetics of the notch, you can always check out this application here. Mac Rumors has an article about that basically just blacks out everything up there and moves everything down so that you just have a bezel up top. Effectively, it just blacks it out so that you don't really see the notch anymore. This is something that some Android devices actually can do as well. With the hole punch up top, it will just black out the whole bar and slide everything down a bit, and it makes it look a little bit better. That's kind of what's going on here as well. So if the aesthetics are your problem, there's at least a fix for that. I'm sure the other fixes are going to happen for that as well. Now, like any tech person, I've looked at Geekbench scores in the past, and I've referenced them here on this channel, but I've always tried to tell people, look, take it with a grain of salt, because Geekbench scores, like any benchmark, are not the end-all be-all, right? When a device scores higher than another, that doesn't necessarily mean that that device that scores higher is the better device, or that you're even going to be able to feel or notice a difference in day-to-day use. However, because I am a fan of Surface Duo 2, and because this next bit of information does serve my bias, let's be honest here, people, as you've read in my comments, I'm a terribly biased person. So since this news does serve my bias, I have to bring it to you, and I have to show you why Surface Duo 2 is the most performant Android device that you can possibly buy. If you go to Geekbench and you sort by single core score, what is the best scoring device on their website by a large margin? Why, that would be Microsoft's Surface Duo 2. And before you say, now Shane, that's just single core, what about multi-core? Isn't that equally as important? Well, don't worry, because if you go to multi-core, what is the most performant device once again? Well, that is Microsoft's Surface Duo 2. Clearly, this means that Surface Duo 2 is the best device ever made. Sticking with Surface Duo 2, there was a news story that was going around being shared on Twitter and on the Surface Duo subreddit about how Microsoft's launcher, which is the launcher that Surface Duo 1 and 2 both use as their default launcher. This app, if you went into the Play Store, it was showing itself to no longer be compatible with Surface Duo. And of course, people got very upset. They're very confused. They're very worried. What is going on? They all asked each other and themselves. They stared deeply into a mirror, pondering the point of life itself over this particular news story. We have here from Windows Central an explanation for this. And I think it's a rather logical explanation. What Microsoft is doing is they're separating the APK, the build, the software between Microsoft Launcher for every other phone and Microsoft Launcher for Surface Duo and Surface Duo 2. And by doing this, what will now happen is that your launcher updates will now come as part of your monthly full system updates instead of coming via Play Store. So now this may make it so that you're going to get fewer updates, but hopefully the updates will be more substantial. Now there's a couple of reasons why they may choose to do something like this. Option number one is simply that the Surface team behind Surface Duo, they just want more control over what's happening on their device. Maybe they'd seen updates being pushed out that did bad things to Surface Duo. Maybe they felt like they were introducing bugs or creating problems, and they said, enough is enough. We'll push these out when we're good and ready through our monthly updates. Now, that's possible. Option number two is that we are about to see a true forking of the code base. So right now, there is one APK. When you install it on different devices, it works in different ways. Put it on any other phone, you get custom icons, you get all sorts of other features. When it detects, I'm on a Surface Duo, it does Surface Duo stuff, and it shuts down a lot of other features, which is very frustrating and very annoying. But it's possible that now they're going to just be two separate launchers, so that Duo's version won't run on another device and vice versa. They'll be separate, and this may allow some more advanced features to come along for Surface Duo. Now, that is speculative. Both of these are speculative, and perhaps there's a third answer that I have not thought of. If you've thought of it, let me know in the comments down below. But this is probably not something to get too freaked out about. This is just more focus being put into the launcher for Surface Duo. Now, we also need to do an update here talking about Android 12.1, which is now going to be called Android 12L. So we have a little write-up here from The Verge where we're talking about what this is. And I've talked about 12.1 in the past, and basically it is a version of Android 12 that is going to be more customized and better fit to work on larger screen devices. So if you're looking at, honestly, look at the Z Fold, and a lot of the features that are on the Z Fold are going to just natively be there in Android 12L. Now that I've turned on dark mode for The Verge so that it's not blinding me with a white screen, let's talk about exactly what I'm talking about here. So one of the big things is a taskbar. How cool is that for Android to have a taskbar with maybe recent apps or pinned apps you can drag on screen to split screen? You can tap to just launch. That is something we already have on Samsung devices like the Z Fold or even the Galaxy Tab. Well, this is going to be something that's going to just work on stock Android. Might this be something we'll see on Surface Duo? No, probably not, but it would be cool to think about anyways. How about things that are split screened, right? So you've got a big screen, so why would you have your your notification shade pulled down, showing notifications in the big blank areas. That's how Android's worked in the past. Well, what about now if we split it into 2 panes? That's smart. That's something that we see in the settings options on Samsung devices already. Speaking of settings, I actually have shown that as well, which you can see here on this XDA developers write-up for Android 12.1, which we now know is Android 12L, like I already said. Lock screen's going to look different. Basically, just a lot of cool stuff that's going to make Android on a big screen make much more sense. Now, how does this play in with Surface Duo? Honestly, I mean, what I'm thinking here is that apps might span better, because if some of these apps are already dual pane, well, that's going to work better for Surface Duo in and of itself. And there's going to be some behind the scenes coding being done just to make split screen stuff work better. Might this be stuff that Surface Duo could take advantage of instead of having to code themselves? Absolutely. In fact, Windows Central's Daniel Rubino has actually speculated that Surface Duo, rather than going to Android 12, might hold off and go straight to Android 12L to take advantage of some of these things, as that's going to make a bigger splash in the long run. Pretty interesting, and hopefully that's something that we do see around mid-year next year at the latest. When will it come to Surface Duo 1? I don't know. We may have interstellar space travel by then. Guys, that's all the news I have for you today. Thanks for making it to the end of today's video. If you'd like to support the channel, simply hit that subscribe button. Maybe click that join button like so many of you already have if you want to support the channel in a more monetarily direct way. I do appreciate that a ton. Stay tuned for the next News Radar every Monday and Friday. And until then, stay nerdy, my friends.